Hello, this is Ashy. Today I have Wa back, after he's finished battling his diseases and bad Chinese.
I mean, it could. At this point, we think it was actually just COVID, because apparently the new strains of COVID actually just are food poisoning. So the Chinese may have been absolved. Maybe.
Oh. Well, hey, maybe you can order from them again.
Fuck no, not risking that.
I also have Dez.
Hey, I don't have any entertaining almost dying to Chinese food stories.
Dude,
Nope.
that ensuite toilet was it was not in a good fucking state after half a week of that. It was oh boy, it was a disaster. It was an actual fucking natural disaster. It's like Titan had been through. The landslides.
Things I didn't want to know.
Anyway.
So, during our last video, we had finished talking about the unofficial category of channeling feats. Today I was going to talk about most of the cleric support, but having reviewed the feat list, we've got more feats to talk about. So, let's start with several feats that I think should have been added to the channeling category that didn't make it on the SRD's master list. For some reason. Channeling variants. So, did you like the variant channeling system? Well, if you did, but didn't want to lose access to basic normal channeling, this feat will give you the option of taking on a second channeling mode. If you channel energy normally, you can take a variant channel. And if you have a variant channel, if you take up the normal channel, it can be used 3 times per day. If you take the feat a second time, you can use it as many times a day as you want.
I'm trying to think. I'm thinking about that one because while the utility channels can be very good, if you just don't need raw healing, is it worth 2 feats to get them both? Like that seems like a heavy tax.
I mean, just having it 3 times per day could be nice if you have a variant channel, and then just 3 times per day just have the full power channel.
I mean, I suppose if you're running basically what Jack's doing with the get a static luck bonus and then a reroll from Fate's Fit. What is it? Channel Fate?
Yeah, I believe so. It's in the channeling list.
But yeah,
So,
like I feel the bigger heal might not be as needed, so you wouldn't need to take this twice.
There's also the case of, like, you could have the basic heal and use this to get a silver bullet variant channel without it feeling bad. Because you don't have to use the silver bullet option unless you need it.
I mean, I guess that would just boil down to what deity you have. Would depend on which one you want more often.
That's true.
Yeah, sure.
Granted, most deities will have access to multiple variant channels. Speaking of which, extra variants. Did you really like the variant channeling system? Extra variants allows you to actually add a second, or a third, or a fourth, etc., because you can take it more than once, variant channeling options to your repertoire. It's usable 3 times per day, unless you have channel variants twice, then you uncap those uses as well.
I am definitely sat here thinking, I wonder if there is actually just an all-in, full hog channeling build hiding in this mess.
There probably
Legitimately.
is. There probably is.
Plays that cleric with almost... Oh, go ahead.
Especially if you have a neutral deity or a neutral cleric somewhere on that neutral axis, and have access to that channeling feat that allows you to channel both positive and negative. Because that's a thing too.
True.
Then you can just open up your repertoire even more and more.
Drop yourself in under a true neutral god, and then just start dropping all the channels depending on your situation.
At some point, after we've done Crimson Throne, or whatever the fuck we're doing next, I may actually go have a look, and rather than doing the Dimensional Dervish Polearm Slayer or something, I may just go in for a full channeling feat build, because I know there's extra channel.
Yes, there
more
is.
use as a channel a day, so maybe there's a thing you can do here with this, and I'm gonna try and do it.
Well, hey, we did videos on channeling feats and on all those channel options, so you can absolutely take a look at those, and maybe they can help guide you along your path of what's good, what's bad, and what things do.
It depends how drony you get. You might actually just put me to sleep.
That's fair. Speaking of
well,
putting
that's
to
why
sleep,
you're here, to add some blather that will keep us all going.
I can't do it for 3 hours though. I tried.
So then let's quickly move on before 3 hours pass.
So now we're on reactive healing.
Yes.
A good one.
I'm
We
sure
mentioned this-
everybody who's watching, the one person who's watching, can see how big this list is and why I might get a bit backed up.
Yes, it's on screen.
Yeah. What's reactive healing?
So we mentioned this briefly when we were talking about quick channel. Basically, you can immediate action heal yourself with your channel or lay on hands for a paladin when you hit 0 HP. The prereqs make it a little less taxing, like on a cleric, than for a paladin though, because you need quick channel or quicken spell, and paladins already kind of need to dip into those martial feats.
And quicken spell, just good on any spellcaster, so
Not good on paladin.
I don't count them as a spellcaster.
That's fair. But yeah, it's basically a you hit 0, you can immediate action, give yourself some healing. Helps you stay up. I think it's good.
It's not bad
pretty good.
if you've got feats to spare and you're one of those frontliney smashy clerics. It could do some work.
It can help keep you standing, and that's the important thing.
Hell, even if you're not one of those frontline smashy clerics, if you're like the group's healer, this could keep you on your feet so that you don't.
Yeah.
I suppose if you get just nuked down to nothing, but for the most part, if you're using channel as a healing option anyway, you're going to be clipping yourself with it most of the time anyway.
Yeah, but this is an immediate action, so it's on an opponent's turn. If they clip you down to 0 before you get a chance to do anything.
Very
Yes.
true. Very right.
Its purpose is literally to be an immediate action. Oh no!
I got bursted down. Nah, fam.
Yeah.
This is starting to definitely sound like yet another DM torturing device.
Is it? Oh my god. It might be. I didn't even think of that. Thank you for the idea. So anyways, let's slide down to Purifying Channel. Purifying Channel builds off a Selective Channel, another good feat. And it lets you take a target that you excluded, and you can burn them for damage. It can also dazzle them. Dazzle is not amazing, but hitting them with fire damage as a consequence of being separated from your Selective Channel, I think it's actually a pretty good feat. They can save for half to like reduce the fire damage, prevent the dazzle. But it's prereqs
But
already
hey,
that you're probably taking.
Yeah, like you're probably already gonna have the selective channeling, and the extra burn. It's just extra damage.
Yeah. You're hitting
And
one
it's not
target for
limited
extra
per
damage.
times per day.
No, it's not.
No, this actually kind of a decent feat. The only issue I have with it is that it's fire damage, the most resistant element in the game. But other than that, not bad.
It is fire damage. That is a downside, but I think it's good.
Yeah, it's
Bad.
pretty good.
I mean, it's free extra damage. It's basically another decently scaling spell to just yeet at something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're dropping this to heal all of your allies, and then one person just lights on fire.
Yeah. You've got the same scaling as sneak attack or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
it's
dice
kind of
for
hard
2
to
levels.
do that.
So, as
Yeah.
far as just a basic damaging spell goes, this is incredibly efficient. Okay, this is good. This is a good feat.
So,
Yeah.
sliding down, command animals and command plants. I'm going to just group these together real quick, because they are both basically just command undead, but for animals and plants respectively. I think it's important to mention that the command animals is considered a charm, not a dominate. And because they're so specific, and because they require specific domains to get into, I'm not convinced these are actually any good. I think these ones might be bad.
Like, charm is not powerful enough, and I believe that most of the charm animal spells is on your list as a cleric anyway.
I don't know. They sound like druid spells.
I mean,
They might not
I
be.
might be just thinking that because Dawn is a shaman, so she kind of edges into. But either way, like charming an animal, not necessarily the most
It's
useful
probably
thing for a cleric to do.
it's probably still not a spell that you would take if you had the option of not taking it.
I don't know. I can see there's some very specific kinds of campaigns like the one that me around where everybody's actually just an animal.
Yeah.
Everybody is just an animal type. You might be able to get some.
Okay, yeah, if you're playing a furry campaign.
If you're a bunch of fucking furries, yeah.
Where,
this
where
might have
you're not
value
playing
against
one
some
of the
furries,
races that's
fair.
a humanoid but a furry, but you're actually just a fucking animal. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. The
Look, I'm
command
playing.
plans.
I'm doing my best impression of Ashy, but think about this super niche case.
I mean, I do that. That's fair. Command plants allows you to command plant, so that's not a charm. That is command plants, the spell. But also, you don't see plants a lot. You don't see animals a lot beyond a certain point. I think we can go to the next one.
Yep.
So, nature's freedom. So, this one also asks for either animal or plant domain. But, this one, it lets you expend an additional use when you channel, and you can basically give all the creatures that are affected the Woodland Stride ability from, like, Druid. Ignoring natural, non-magical terrain can be very convenient. I'm not certain if I'd say this is worth a feat, but it can be very convenient, especially if you are somehow generating non-magical, difficult terrain yourself.
I mean,
how long
to
does
low
it
to mid,
last?
low to mid level, if you've got a druid or something, and you're just dropping the entangle and various, or like obsidian flow. If you're actually using really heavily into the leaning heavily into battlefield control, you could definitely get some use for this, because if everything's basically limited to, well, very limited.
It is Woodland
The
Stride,
party has free.
so it might not count all difficult terrain. It would matter against, like, if you say we're walking through a swamp or walking through snow.
I mean, to be fair, this would have been incredibly handy in that one battle in that goblin camp where we were all fucking slowed.
Yeah.
Because it was difficult terrain, because it was just a marsh.
Which this
And
would
the
have
goblins
ignored.
are ignoring it.
Yeah.
Like,
But-
everybody who's played D&D or any kind of D&D for enough time knows how much of a pain in the ass difficult terrain is, and just being able to go, well, hey, all of you get some Lightfoot slippers or whatever the fuck they're called. Here you go. No one's gonna complain.
Nope.
Everyone's
Yeah.
gonna be very happy.
Might not be worth the feat, but then again, if you're already going into the plant domain.
And it's especially useful if you know your DM or the environment might call for it.
Oh yeah,
Like-
like if you were going to be playing Kingmaker, this might find a lot more use, because a lot of Kingmaker is out in the wild.
Yeah.
That statement about the DM makes me realize that a lot of these feats exist to see if you can predict your DM's gonna be a fucking asshole this campaign.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty
That's-
sure a lot of them are also just created for specific campaigns, for a specific NPC, for a specific encounter.
Yeah, like, I
Sure.
could see this on the NPC Druid, that's goal is to, or not NPC Druid, NPC Cleric, its goal is to, here party, ignore the mechanic of this fight real quick, and look like a bit of a hero without actually having done anything, just by making everyone else's life much easier, or, ah yes, we're fighting this enemy, there's briar thorns everywhere. They keep channeling so that their allies don't have to worry about it, but the party takes, like, D4 damage just for taking steps forward or something.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think we could put Nature's Freedom down, though. So, Wild Growth Channel. So, Wild Growth Channel kind of reminds me of Aristil's Thicket Channel. Though, this one is both more resource-intensive and a bit more targeted. Wild Growth Channel allows the channeler to spend 3 uses of their channel energy to grow some vines and squares. These vines can attempt to trap and root creatures in place. They have virtually no HP or AC, so they're very easy to destroy. But I guess even if they managed to waste a turn, then maybe they might have been worthwhile. Regardless, the vines ask your targets to a reflex save. You get a number based on your charisma with a duration based on charisma and a DC based on charisma. they care a lot about charisma. The vines occupy single squares, and they will act at the beginning of your turn, or when you spend an immediate action when you use the ability initially. You can't really move them, so they're static. This still might not be bad, because you basically will just spot check it, put underneath all your enemies, and if you happen to waste their turn because they have to deal with the vines that they're holding at their feet, then it might have been worthwhile. And I mean, you're still channeling, so.
To be fair, though, I think the biggest problem with this is this worth a feat?
I don't know. They're super vulnerable.
If you
want to
slow your, I mean, if you wanna slow your enemies down, just throw down a bag of caltrops. It's about as useful.
Caltrops won't stop them in place unless they react, though.
No, but this also requires like a charisma-based check and everything, which on a cleric isn't going to be their highest.
It's not a charisma-based.
And this is a precious feat.
Yeah.
And this requires a precious feat slot.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing, is that it does take a feat slot.
Most of this does really most of this really just does boil down into, is this good? It could be useful. It could be a silver bullet, but my precious goddamn feats.
Yeah. That's a very accurate way to put it.
Especially if you're playing any kind of smashy cleric, so you're going to be going into some martial feats already.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then the ones that aren't going to martial are probably going to be going to things like meta magic, just so you can get some spells out better.
This definitely
So that you
looks and feels more like it's a castery feat, because you probably don't want to walk up to your enemies with this. So I think it could be good. Death thinks it could be bad. Wow, do you have an opinion on this weird little feat?
Wild growth?
Yeah.
You know, I think actually this might be great on a life shaman, because, you know, when they get their high-end true ability on their life spirit, they get to swift action channel.
Oh.
Just because.
That's fair.
So you've got your swift action channel inherent from your spirit's ability, and so you're not actually spending that much of your action economy popping this out. You are going, I swift action, that guy's rooted and can't fucking do whatever he wants to do, and now I'm going to take the rest of my turn. So yeah, we're talking about cleric here, but when I'm looking at this, I'm actually looking at shaman, specifically on the life or whatever other ones get channel. I'm sure some of them do.
That's a fair thought. Making it faster does help it out.
I'm also going to throw out the other elephant in the room, the 2 additional uses for this.
That part is kind of the most brutal part.
Like, 2 additional channel uses per day going to just making these very easily broken vines. Like, and especially on a shaman. Just throw it and tangle, motherfucker. Don't they get that?
Probably. That's fair. So, use cases leaning probably towards good, but there's a lot of ways to get a similar effect much more easily without spending channel. That's fair. So, Bestow Hope. This is a Sarenrae kind of specific feat, and it calls for improved channel. Improved channel is okay, but it's kind of weird that it calls for it, since it doesn't really interact with the creatures that would make DC saving throws against it. Bestow Hope allows you to reduce fear by a step when you channel, basically. So, Shaken goes away, Frighten drops to Shaken, Panic drops to Frighten.
Hold on, pause a second.
Yep.
Because I'm incidentally going on to I went to a broken link by trying to click that button. I found Improved Channel Force. It's a racial feat for Aasimar.
Yes.
When using Channel Force, you can affect all creatures in a 60-foot line or a 30-foot cone-shaped burst.
Yeah,
Either
it's
push
force
or pull.
push.
Don't you worry, I'm going to cover these later. These are on the list too.
I wonder if these interact with the channeling feats, though, with the effects, because it is technically a channel.
It is a channel, yes. So it would. Yes. I thought you were going to like those when I got to them. Just wait till I get to them, though.
Sorry, I incidentally just hit that when I was trying to click on Improved Channel. And the
Oh no. Also,
Improved channel is
was
a +2 to DC.
Mhm.
was what's it called? Channel build is probably going to be an SMR.
Yeah, probably. I would think so.
Might be. It might be. I might have channel force, so I can just do. that
Or a
shit.
human with the planar
Yeah.
bullshittery.
You know, it might be a human.
I do need that extra feet. It's true.
I mean, you lose the extra feet from the planar bullshittery.
True.
Mm.
I mean, I guess at that point you're playing a human not for the feat, but for favor class bonuses, which you might just stick with Asimar at that point. For the stats.
And
But anyways,
the immunities.
let's get back onto Bestow Hope. I think this feat is good, though when I mentioned it to them earlier, did mention just cast Remove Fear, which is fair.
Cast Remove Fear, and my brain, when you were explaining it to me before, did not include the improved channel, so even more ick.
Yeah, it's calling for Improved
Like-
Channel, which Improved Channel on its own isn't a bad feat, but it's not interacting with us in any way. I don't know why it's here. It's kind of silly.
You know?
Like, I think it's a good feat, but not good enough to have prerequisites like that.
No, not at all. Especially because it's already calling you to worship Serenray specifically, so it's like...
I mean, Serenray's a good god. Literally and
Yeah,
figuratively.
Serenray is a good god, but it limits it even further to, like, clerics of that one specific god.
That's true.
You know, because there's no other gods out there that bestow hope on people. Nobody else is hopeful, only Serenray. Only Serenray.
I mean, let's look at our options. Iomade. Would you say Iomade is a beacon of hope? Or Desna's a beacon of hope? Or Shellen's a beacon of hope? Or insert another god
yes
here.
to all of those.
Oh, okay.
Yes to all of those.
You know what? Fair enough.
Alright, next up.
Divine Barrier. So this one I think is really cool. So this one is devoted to Apsu.
That's the
It's-
dragon god, right?
Yeah, it's basically
the Bahamut
Pathfinder
equivalent.
Bahamut. Yeah, Pathfinder Bahamut. So, what this feat does is, when you are affected by an AoE that does damage to one of the 4 common energy types, you can spend an immediate action and use of Channel to gift yourself and your allies basically improved invasion. Half damage on a failed save and no damage on a success. I think it's a great feat.
I mean, okay, it's a great feat in theory, but if the barbarian is something that's got, well, not the barbarian, the fighter's being hit who's got no fucking evasion or reflex save to speak of, it's not really helping them much.
It is having their damage no matter what.
Oh.
They're taking half damage, even if they fail. And if they succeed, they take no damage.
Oh, you
It
improved
might not-
evasion, not
It
regular.
is improved evasion.
Okay, never mind.
And
It
it's not
revised my
even just
opinion.
reflex saves. It is
And
any
and
effect.
it's
And it's an
and
immediate
it's
action.
an immediate action. That is a good feat.
Like,
Okay,
immediate
never mind.
action.
Shields up.
Use one channel. It's only the 4 basic elemental types, so no force or sonic. But fire, electricity, cold, acid.
I mean, let's be fair, the 3 things you tend to run into the most are fire, electricity, and cold. A lot
Well,
of things have those as breath weapons.
All I'm thinking of is this is the first thing I found that's actually a foil to Stormbolt.
You know?
There's finally something that tells Stormbolts to shut up.
Yeah, it does tell Stormbolts to shut up. Ah, yes, I'm a fortitude save. Well, what about improved evasion, but against your fortitude save too?
Yeah.
How's about shut up?
So yeah, Divine Barrier. You need to be worshipping Apsu, which isn't a terrible god to worship, to be honest. And you can have Divine Barrier, which is a definitely big payoff.
All
can
I'm
take it at
saying
level
is that
1.
there is. All I say is that there's enough fucking Melissa popularity now that people are probably going to just start worshipping Absu for the memes at this point. It's just going to be Dragon Fuckers Unite.
Oh shit, I didn't even think about that. You're right. Yo, Melissa worshippers, you want to also worship a dragon? Apsu's available. Alright. So, channeling force.
There we go.
So, channeling force, you can spend a swift action and a use of your channel, and you can add damage based on your channel dice to your next 3 weapon attacks. Because it says attacks, I'm pretty sure it's also expending on misses, because it's not, it doesn't say hits. At least it's force damage, which is a rarely resisted damage type.
It says here that one of the prerequisites is you need to have a force spell available to you.
Mhm.
What force spells do clerics get that's not Blade Barrier?
That's another good question. I didn't look too hard into it. I imagine
So I
there
don't
must
think-
be one eventually, but
They're not
it might be a
common.
while before you qualify.
I mean, honestly, unless there's some stuff in Nethys with a force component in the spell, it might just be you know, when there's feats that says you need to be limited to level 10 to take this. If when this was made, the limit was probably level 6 or whatever Blade Barrier shows up, and that's just another way of saying you need to be level 11 for this.
Level
probably less-
2, Admonishing Ray.
Okay,
You fire
never mind.
1 non-lethal force ray.
Never mind.
Oh shoot, we found
You
one.
can take this to
I
level
imagine
5
that
then.
they deliberately left it open, so that way multi-classes could take it if they wanted to, or if they printed a force spell at some point that was lower level, which they did.
I mean, that's true. If you've got Magic Missile in there somewhere.
Or access to magic missile in some way.
I'm gonna say there's also the SLA qualifier, as let's say
Yeah,
you rolled
because
something interesting on
I
the Tiefling mutation list.
This one might not work with that though, because this specifically says ability to cast at least 1 force spell.
Yeah, which
Well,
could be a magic missile
SLA is-
SLA.
SLA is used to. Okay, so Paizo has gone through this thing where they said this counts, this doesn't count, this counts, this doesn't count, primarily because the Kitsune fucking exists. Kitsune and Tiefling were qualifying really early for stuff like Arcane Archer and stuff, and they've been flip flopping on whether they like it or not. Feel hard.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's an entire thing about if an SLA qualifies as being a spellcaster or not, and if it qualifies you for specific types of spells.
I mean, let's be fair, there's also some traits out there you can grab. It's like, oh, it gave me it once per day. Yeah, there we go. Or
Mhm.
it's added it to my spell list. I'm good.
Yeah.
That's how it worked in 3.5, and it carried over. And then, like I said, they flip flopped about it real fucking hard. And I don't know what the current status is. Actually-
Probably the less fun one.
Probably, to be honest. So before judging channeling force anymore, let's cover energy channel because it's in a similar boat. So energy channel, it calls for you to have one of the elemental domains or blessings, because this is available to war priests. And basically it's similar, but you get like double the bonus of the channeling force bonus. So instead of being based purely on your channeling dice, it's twice your channeling dice. But you're limited to domains and blessings that you have access to. It's the same effects otherwise. So more damage, but it's limited to like acid, cold, electricity, or fire, dependent on your domains.
Sure, but if let's say you decide you are going to build heavily into a channel, let's say you're going to do a channel build. Let's say you're a psychopath like I am, and you're going to do this.
Right?
You're going to go through the list of deities, and you're going to find something, because there's that one deity that is one of the elemental deities, and he's like the gate, and he's all 4 elements at the same
Yeah.
time. He's like there's deities you can go that will support you, just being like, I'm an elemental blaster, but I'm a channeler, and it's like, what? You're not a wizard? No. Anyway, get it fucking exploded. 12d6 lightning damage.
Right. In any case, I'm not certain if this. I'm not actually certain that these two feats are any good because you're not adding your channel energy. You're just adding 1 damage per dice,
Oh, it's 1 damage per dice. Never mind. I thought
or
it was
2 damage per
actual
dice
scale.
in the form of energy channel. It
Ugh.
doesn't scale nearly as hard as your channel, and it's only for 3 attacks. And the way that it's read, I think whiffs count. So I don't think it's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after killing those feats, let's talk about a pretty good one.
I was
Bless
briefly
equipment.
excited, thanks.
You're welcome. Bless equipment. So I've got the entire set here. What Bless equipment does is you can expand channels to give some abilities, like to a weapon or to a piece of armor based on the chart. Scrolling down to this chart. So the abilities will last for a number of rounds per your channel dice. And at higher levels, that might be enough rounds. It can only be used on Masterwork and Magic equipment. Master requires an extra channel to give it a +1 investment. And while a few of the abilities here are situational, abilities just like Bane, for example, that's just always good. And at later levels, your casters will just always appreciate having Nullifying drop on the frontline's weapon.
Wait,
This
is
is kind of cute. Yeah, that's Disruption.
Isn't
at
Disruption the undead make a full save or just die?
Yes.
Okay.
Disruption is the save or die for undead. It can only be placed on bludgeoning weapons.
Honestly,
And Life Surge is keen for undead, with more effects.
honestly, this isn't terrible. It kind of converts your what's it called? Your channels into like a baby Arcana pool for your makes you into like a Divine Magus.
Yeah,
Or a
except you can
Divine
put this on
Inquisitor.
anyone's weapon.
Wait, Inquisitor's
Yes.
not divine. Wait, you can put it on someone else's shit. Oh, the
You can put
fighter's gonna love you.
Yeah, you can literally see what you're fighting, identify it, and go, okay, you have Bane and kill that thing.
Yeah,
Oh
have
no,
life,
it's
have
an
life surge.
incorporeal thing. Here's some ghost touch.
Yep.
But here's
Fuck.
the thing. Here's the thing. We're back to this whole point of the shaman, where it's like you've got swift channels, so you channel. It's like that thing's it's a lich. Have life surge and disruption. Go smack. Make him sad.
It's still a
I
standard
don't
action
think
to
this one
expend
would work
the
though.
uses.
Yeah, yeah. This
It
isn't
calls out it has to
actually
be a standard.
channeling.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's not a channel, it expends channel. It's still a standard to use. So you can't speed it up.
Damn.
But if it makes you feel
But-
better, there is 2 improvements directly to this. The first improvement that you can get improved bless equipment allows you to add up to 2 of these at a time to a weapon or armor,
Good enough.
and it decreases the cost by 1. And if we slide down 1 to greater, a greater allows you to plus 2 objects with the same blessing at the same time, and does so efficiently at the cost of 1 use. And it also
Remember
doubles the
when we had-
duration.
Remember we had this conversation about like, oh, you've took blacksmithing or something, and the background of your character is a regular blacksmith, but he's also a priest of the forge or whatever, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, yeah, but you wouldn't do that because mundane item crafting and stuff is fucking garbage. This would be a great way to weave that in. It's just your background and the roleplay aspect that you are just so good with the forged weapons that you just touch them and now they're like,
Behold.
there you go.
Yeah.
Man, I am getting
this-
some ideas.
This is
And-
definitely not bad, especially because you can give it to others. It's not like a lot of those undead hosing abilities where the cleric can give it to themselves, and it's just like, yeah, but a cleric doesn't need more help killing undead. They're already really good at that.
Right?
This though can help you take those idiots that came with you that are no good at killing undead.
Yeah. Or if you just stick with Bane and Nullifying and some of the armor abilities, it doesn't matter what you're fighting. Ah, that's a
Yeah.
dragon. Get baned.
I mean, here's the thing, especially when it comes to dragons and stuff, a party is also never unhappy when they've randomly looted some, arrows of dragon slaying somewhere in the campaign, and it's like, shit, pull those bad boys out. We've been in that situation.
Yeah. True.
God,
It's just
I'm
like that,
reminded
but on
of my
tap.
group. Oh, you guys found elixirs of resistance to fire. Oh, you found a robe that will give whoever wears it resistance to fire. Oh, here's a couple. Okay, we're gonna sell all that stuff to buy the magic items that we wanted. Okay, awesome. Next fucking dungeon. Yeah, so the fire dragon is just gonna kick the shit out of you guys because you got rid of all the fire resist shit.
We did that with the Swarmbane amulet. We've done that before. It was in Iron Gods.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning of this campaign. We're not gonna bother identifying this sword. That would take too long. We have buffs running. Put it in the bag. DM's like, no, you really feel like you should identify this.
No, fuck you, DM. I made my decision.
Oh man.
Now we'll die with it.
Oh man. Okay. Let's move this along. Let's move this along, guys. Enough bullying. All right. So we're
It wasn't
gonna
bullying
talk.
you, it was bullying us.
Yeah. I feel slightly bullied. That and I have a little bit of PTSD from selling the Golem Bane, like, amulet, because, yeah,
Yeah,
I remember getting eaten by nanites.
yeah,
You also remember getting eaten by nanites.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I was never eaten by nanites.
align
Sucks.
equipment. So, align equipment does work with the improved and greater blessings here. It asks you to take alignment channel. You know, the alignment channel feat.
Oof.
And, the feat that you have taken, or feats that you have taken, determine what blessings you can add to your blessed weapon list. And I think this feat's much worse because of it.
Yeah.
I mean, once you get to a point where the tax is so fucking bad that it's not worth doing, yeah.
So it's kind of a case of, let's say you took alignment channel evil, so that way you could hurt evil outside of your channel, you know, on like a positive channeler. Your positive channeler would now have access to Unholy, which hurts good creatures and penalizes the good wielder. A Dastard, which only has an effect for anti-paladins or evil cavaliers. And I mean, Defiant Evil Outsider here could offer some benefit, but not enough benefit to warrant taking align equipment.
Wait. I feel like they meant to say you would get the reverse one, or they put them in the wrong places. Because what the fuck?
While that
Oh,
might
yes,
be
I took
possible,
this
it's
so I can-
exactly what they did
Oh, yeah.
was not the same way for.
Yeah,
Like-
no, because in this particular case, like, if you're trying to kill evil, why are you gonna create an unholy weapon? That isn't gonna help you against evil, and it's just gonna fucking hurt you.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, that's why I think align equipment's not very good. Like, there might be cases for, like, say, a law-abiding law cleric creating lawful weapons with their align channel law, especially if they normally channel negative, so that way they can heal their lawful outsider allies, but...
This is just sort of one of those questions I have where it's like, in what situation are you fighting like chaotic good outsiders and stuff? How have you fucked up that you're fucking fighting an angel if you're even a reasonably good aligned party? It's like
It's
metallic dragons. If you're fighting a metallic dragon, it's your fucking fault. You caused this, not the dragon.
I mean, there are slim cases where you could be fighting a metallic dragon or an angel, but typically there are reasons.
Yeah, typically it's your fault. Because if you're running a metallic dragon as a metallic dragon as presented, they will do everything in their power to not fight you first. Even gold dragons, which will do everything in their power to be correct first. Because if they've got to fight you to prove that they are right, then the dragon's like, well, I fucking failed. It's a pride thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, Bless equipment, 1 through 3, good. Align equipment, not so good.
Broken because of the way it's written.
Guided Hand. So, Guided Hand feeds off of Channel Smite. What it allows you to do is you can use your Wisdom to attack with your weapons. Specifically your deity's favorite weapon. This can help your cleric be less mad, not having to depend on strength or dexterity to make attack rolls, should they want to defend themselves with a weapon.
The downside being it doesn't add your wisdom as damage to the weapon, so it's still... You'll hit often, but you may not deal much damage if you dump strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I mean, hear me out. Let's say you're a cleric of Gorum. You've got, say, that, like, 14 base strength and that 18, that 18 wisdom. But you've got your heart set on getting yourself a belt of strength and con, and that headband of wisdom charisma.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's why these items exist. They can push you beyond hilarious logical extreme, but they're also just fairly decent at supporting a character that needs a boost in those stats to function. Like,
Yeah.
This
True, but
this
my
could
point...
be nice if you wanted to do a heavily armored cleric that uses a bow.
Yes.
Because then you could use your wisdom to shoot your bow if you're like a cleric of Aristil.
Or
Yeah, running Aristil is...
they're still good with bows, funnily enough. Who
Yeah.
thought? The hunter
like
god
wisdom
good
is a
at
hidden
bows?
damage.
What?
No, he's not good with bows. He turns you into a hilarious all-destroying turret.
Oh,
You've
yes.
got to make that distinction here.
You become the Gatling turret.
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
Like, you've got many-shot, multi-shot, blah, 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 and then it's like, oh, by the way, I'm just getting, like, double my wisdom bonus to flat damage on the end of this. Get fucked.
Pew, 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 pew.
And
Regardless. So in my example, I basically chose numbers that were pretty reasonable for what a cleric would probably have. And in that example also, guided hand for this cleric who wants to go swinging with a weapon would represent at least like a +2 more to hit, and considering people take weapon focus for a +1 to hit, probably decent.
Yeah.
I think guided hand's a good feat.
I mean, there's definitely a war priest case use here because you get that weapon focus essentially for free, don't you? In a specific weapon.
I don't recall
Yeah.
getting weapon focus for free, but you might be right. I'd have to read through it myself later.
Yeah,
It's
I
literally the level
believe
one
they do
ability.
get it. Yeah, I believe they do get it for free, and that's also what their spiritual weapon thing like works on.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on any weapon that they have weapon focus in.
Because I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure war priests can get a hold of channel.
Oh, they
I'm
have
pretty
channel
damn sure.
natively.
Okay.
They get it eventually.
Yeah, they
It's
spend
not
fervor
their,
to do it.
It's
Okay.
not like their earliest
So-
thing, but they get it.
So there's a use here for a war priest to do some real fucking funny things with this.
Possibly. In
Okay.
any case, let's move right on along.
I just think it's worth mentioning since yes, we're covering cleric support, but these supports can be used on other divine.
I
classes.
agree. Though I am placing them on the cleric video mostly because I feel like clerics are more likely going to be taking them, because war priests and paladins are the two
Well-
premium other channelers.
Well, yeah, new players are going to be seeing cleric before they see these other things. Idea.
Yeah. So, Greater Channel Smite. We mentioned it previously. It basically lets you take your extra damage from Channel Smite and just turn it into a pool that carries between your attacks. Reading it sounds a little silly until you consider that you can apply the whole pool at once to try and get your damage out every single time you swing. I think it's a decent feat just because it lets you not whiff your first attack and lose your channel. You have the second opportunity with your next attack. And then there's Lingering
Yeah.
Smite. Oh, did you want to say something about Greater Channel Smite?
No, I'm just looking at it. It's like, I guess if you're going down the channel smite tree, it's okay.
Yeah, like, Channel Smite's definitely a case where I think negative energy clerics eat better. Because,
Yeah, for sure.
Being fair, evil aligned clerics tend to eat shit just by what the dominant things that you normally fight are.
Yeah.
Things that you want to be fighting, you generally don't as a heroic party. So, yeah, negative clerics eat better here, but a positive energy or a neutral cleric tends to just have a much larger tableau of shit they can do
yeah.
without being fucked by the campaign in general.
You
I-
mean
I
like
don't-
being
I'm
able to
not
help
mad.
keep the party alive with their channel?
Yeah,
Rather than trying to turn it into Ghetto Fireball at every opportunity?
I mean, I'd do it. I'd fucking do it.
I did it, that's why I had selective channel at first level!
Mhm.
in case I need to be the Fireball.
There's reasons to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in campaigns where we've had a cleric and an enemy cleric who's an evil cleric just rat battling with each other, and there's just fucking pulses of damage and healing going everywhere, and it's just chaos.
Lovely. Concern. Lovely.
Wait, you've never been in a cleric rat battle before? I thought you've been in one with Elma.
I don't remember ever fighting a good aligned cleric. We did fight a couple paladins though that decided to smite the shit out of me.
Ah, yes, where I walked across the difficult terrain river to deal with the hunt masters, and it's like, Jude, help me! I was like, God damn it, I've got to slowly walk back across this river again. I'm coming. Eventually.
June starts dealing with the archers. Elma, I'm getting smited! It hurts!
Damn it. I'm coming back. Hold on. Difficult terrain.
But yeah.
My 20-foot move speed in medium armor sucks ass.
So, Lingering Smite, I think is an odd one. So, Lingering Smite allows you to spread your damage out from your channel smite over turns equal to your channel dice. Instead of d6s, it deals d8s. Each round, a successful save will negate damage. I don't know how I feel about this feat on its own, but if this feat is allowed to refresh a variant channel ability, or can interact with certain class abilities that also call on channel smite, it might be a good feat. If it's not allowed to do that, it's a rough case as to whether or not it's decent. It can arguably be more damage than your channel smite, but spread out over a long fight. Most fights aren't going to last long enough for it to actually deal its damage.
Yeah.
That is a problem with stuff like this, where the average actual big fight might only last 4 or 5 rounds. Small fights last 1 or 2.
It's the same reason why people don't consider bleed damage that overly worthwhile unless it's a large amount. Because the little bit is not really going to nickel and dime it quickly enough. You're going to just chunk it down faster and it's going to bleed out.
I mean, I'm one of those people who absolutely believes that as well.
Yeah.
There are niche cases, like I know Shacks can do very high bleed. They can also, the Divine Boons can let you heal from bleed. So if you can spread bleed around with like a Stardust style or something, then you can actually be healing a ridiculous amount. There's con bleed and stat bleed. Rogues get access to it. So the R bleed is just standard. Oh, you do 1 point to fucking bleed. It's why the Golden Goose is finding stacking bleed, and it does exist.
Yeah,
but
improved the critical feat for bleeding critical stacks itself. So if you have a wide crit range weapon and just slapping it consistently enough and getting your bleed stacked up high, you could wind up with like 46, 66 bleed cozily.
Yep.
And that's not an amount of bleed to be ignored. That's 3 crits.
Suddenly that's fireballs worth of bleed. And it's very good.
But like I said, with Lingering Smite, it kind of has to interact with Variant Channel, I think, to be worthwhile. Basically turning it into a vector for consistent debuff reapplication. Because, like, its damage isn't going to matter as a dot. Pathfinder just isn't that kind of game where dots do matter a lot.
Yeah, the dot numbers, unless it's like Acid Arrow or something where you're actually throwing dice at them, is definitely more of a not a Pathfinder, a 5th edition. There's 5th edition numbers. There's Pathfinder numbers and there's later D&D numbers. Which is not me bashing on it, it's just everything is so much lower to the ground on 5th edition that it's shit like that does suddenly matter. And I think it is present in 5th edition, where it does mean something. But you're gonna get 5th edition players who look at this and go, oh, that's great, I've seen this in my system, and it's like, no. Unfortunately, the numbers are just too big for it to matter.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're doing a stat bleed, just not really worth.
I mean, I think everybody could agree stat bleed just good.
Stat bleed is the
a
scariest.
little bit borked.
Stat bleed is like the second scariest thing in the game. Probably right behind negative levels.
For sure.
Anyways, let's get on to Angel Bane Strike.
I'm sorry?
Angel Bane Strike. It's another channel smite feat, and it kind of does like 2 things. Against good living creatures, all rolls of 1 on your channel dice are treated as 2s. Okay. And if you strike a good outsider or a divine caster devoted to a good deity, you get an extra d6 to slap them with. It does call for a Demon Lord Patron, which is kind of fine. It is a bit of a case where you need to be in an evil campaign if you're making use of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not fighting a lot of good creatures otherwise.
You know, would this bump up variant smites that have got a negative stat debuff for half damage thrown into it.
Yeah, Channel Smite works with variant channeling.
Okay.
So
That's
variant
not bad.
channeling has rules that state that they work with all the channeling feats. The only reason I think there's question for Lingering Smite is because Lingering Smite works just so different from everything else.
I was just thinking that if it actually confers the malices that come with channeling to harm in the variant channeling, there's actually some excellent case uses I can think for this, because some of them are very nasty.
Yeah. I'm sure that you would like the Channel Ray feat. We covered it last time, so you missed it. To cover it quickly, it basically turns your channel into a single target. It turns it into a ray. The ray has a range of 30 feet per channel dice. So at level 5, it's a 90-foot ray.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And it increases the DC of the channel by 2.
Okay.
So it has a little built-in improved channel, which will stack with improved channel. So you can get a +4 DC between 2 feats.
I mean,
if you're
trying
targeting
to
one
punch
creature.
through, if you're punching through undead will saves, you kind of fucking need it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm sorry, I'm just continuing to get ideas.
So Domain Strike could be good. Requires a specific type of campaign. You're not going to use it in a typical campaign because you're not going to be fighting a lot of good living creatures. And Disrupting Fist. Oh boy, Disrupting Fist. It allows you to spend 2 channels as a swift action to immediately destroy undead. It
You need
requires you to
channel
crit with an unarmed strike. And the will saving throw to negate it is 10 plus your BAB. This will
So
save...
this is
Sorry?
for a Sacred Fist. This is for Sacred Fist, then. This is your prestige class in Undead Hoser.
So,
Actually,
A
there's a
Sacred Fist or that weird ass paladin who decided to smite with his holy hand and
when the paladin
spends the
decides to
channels.
I cast Fist.
yeah, there's
You
a
know.
whole priest that can do the same.
Yeah.
I channel Fist. They use the hammer the undead back
And-
into the earth.
Yeah.
back
And
in
the
your
other
grave.
problem with this that I've already said is, again, this is, it hoses undead. Any class that can channel does not need help hosing undead. It's got ways to hose undead.
Yeah, you're spending a feat
Especially
for
not to
death
rely on
way.
that 1 in 20 chance to get the fucking crit.
So you're not with shit like this. You're on what you're trying to do. You're not relying on this. You're relying on something with Butterfly Sting to stack a crit on something for you. You're relying on a Swashbuckler with a 15 to 20 crit rating rapier to go tag it, and then the Paladin walks up and just pimp slaps it. Is what you're doing. Like you've got party, you've got Butterfly Sting and shit like that, and probably some teamwork feats to support it. You need to be playing Tyrant's Grasp. Is it Tyrant's Grasp? No. Yeah, Tyrant's Grasp.
Tyrant's
Where
Grasp
it's
is
just Tar
top full of
Bathon.
undead.
So if you're playing Tyrant's Grasp or any of these super Tar Bathon focused campaigns where everything is just an undead, you could probably set this up to just be running through the campaign, insta-killing fucking zombies and stuff.
Yeah.
Remember when I said stuff like this is a DM bullying tool?
Yeah, but
I don't
again,
feel
like,
wrong.
even the save isn't that overly amazing. 10 plus
It's-
your BAB.
Yeah, it's independent of your channel save. It's just 10 plus BAB, which I think could be good on a paladin with full BAB, but on a cleric or a war priest with their medium BAB,
True.
I'm not seeing it.
You need to find something that says your X level counts as your BAB for this thing and not just feat qualification. I don't
Yeah.
think that exists. If there is, I'm not familiar with it. It's probably going to exist somewhere.
And the fact that you have to have the improved unarmed strike really does, like, boil it down to...
You're tax feeding into this.
Mhm.
Heck, in a
You
sense,
need a
you're taking 2 tax feeds because you also need Channel Smite, and while I think Channel Smite is a good feat on its own, you're not using it here.
Yeah.
You
Like,
instead
especially if you're a paladin, just regular smite.
you're
Just-
specifically
I think
having to not use it in order to have your swift action ready on the off chance you crit.
I think that there is some hoops you can jump through to enable this, but you've got to do that. You know, like when we do a deep dive into making a really stupid concept good,
Yes.
and it takes us 3 fucking days
Yes.
of finding stuff. I think
Yes.
that's where this exists. You've got to dedicate yourself, heart and soul, to making it good, and it probably will be good, but fucking hell, it's going to take some work.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you and I making those 2 characters just to be the target of opportunity, like the swashbuckler and the barbarian.
Oh yeah, the savage technologist.
Being
Point
fair,
blank shot
And
of
the
opportunity.
picaroon.
target of opportunity doesn't need help being good, though. It's a teamwork feat that is just good on its own.
But you can
It
make
requires
better.
help because you need to convince a second person to pick a teamwork feat, and even though those things are amazing, look at how many people actually just don't.
True.
Dude, I guarantee. So you know the Mia's campaign that's kicked off. Have anybody tried to get some really good synergy going, or has that just been like everybody's built what they thought was cool and?
Dude, it's a pile of casters and a fighter.
Sounds like an Iron God's campaign.
It's a pile of
The
casters
only
and a
good-
fighter.
Why
The
you
only
should
good-
just get tandem casting, so you can all cast your spells at the same time and get +2 to the DC per person doing it. Go fucking
If
get
that-
some teamwork feats, you idiots.
If that's a feat, my character does not have room for it.
Oh, rip.
My character's feats are all spoken for. But
Okay.
the best
Case in
news...
fucking point. It's hard to
Nope.
get people to get teamwork feats. I've just said you need a perfect opportunity to get
Okay.
tandem casting. Nope.
Let's get back to
Can't do it.
disrupting fist, guys.
Yep.
I think
Terrible
I've got
feat.
to.
Horrible.
I think I gotta count the creature type voting against it, because unless you're in a campaign where you're fighting consistently undead, I don't think it belongs.
I mean,
And
let's be fair. In the campaign we're currently in, how many undead have we run into that you didn't force into the situation?
not a
I don't
small
think-
number, but if you took this feat, there's a lot of there would be a lot of fights where you're just not eating at all.
Yep.
It's
To
a
be fair,
dead
most
feat
of the
against a lot of
undead-
fights.
Most of the undead we found is Jack going, this place is haunted. Oh, you found an undead because you went looking for them.
Well, that's why I said if we only count the things that weren't added to the game because of DM being like, yeah, you found more. You went and dug them up.
Literally, Jack goes and digs up the undead. There's undead. I've got to bust it now. Dun, dun,
We
dun.
need to save the country. Jack looking over at the obviously haunted mansion. Yeah, in a bit.
Ah, yes, I
Hold
dug
on.
up this coffin. Let's do an unboxing to see if there's an undead inside.
It's a Dybbuk box.
Anyways,
Yeah.
anyways.
No, Disrupting Fist can be made good in very specific campaigns, but way too many hoops needed to be jumped through to make it generally good.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be honest, I feel like the next
Absolutely.
one might be in a similar boat as well as the following one, but we'll get to them. So, Shatter Control. Shatter Control, I think, is another weird feat. You get a full round attack action against an undead creature that's either melee or ranged in 30 feet, and, if that undead creature is under the control of another creature, probably undead based on the wording, somehow, and it becomes compelled to seek out and attack its previous controller for about, like, 10 minutes.
That's pretty goddamn funny.
The controller
oof.
can make a will save at DC 10 plus half level plus charisma modifier if they're within 120 feet to not lose control of their undead.
Oh, that's garbage.
I think the feat is very weird, very funny,
I'll-
maybe not good.
Also, it's even more limited.
Yeah.
If you read, if the target undead creature is being controlled by another by way of a spell, so you can't even turn like a spawn against its own its master because that's not a spell.
Keep reading.
Yeah,
Because the target undead creature is an unintelligent undead controlled by that creature or is under command of another undead creature. So you can turn a spawn against it with that last bit. So you could turn a spawn against its
Oh.
master, but in most cases,
aren't they going to succeed though because they tend to have very high charisma since it's their health stat? they tend to
it's
be very
against
good at charisma. They've got-
you're the one setting the DC, not them. So they're making a will save against your DC.
Well, undead tend to have good will saves as well.
They do tend to have good will saves. And this
Yeah.
isn't necessarily a channel, so channel bonus isn't applying, but
True.
I still don't think it's a good feat because it's an undead hosing feat. It is funny if you can pull it off.
Okay, you know what? I know the use of this thing when it would be great. When you run
Right.
into an undead that's like Elma, where they're in control of a massive fuck-off critter that they probably can't even beat. But because it's under their control, they sit pretty.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's like, okay, so you've basically got the evil cleric with his magnum opus, the Grave Titan, and then you smack the Grave Titan, turns around and just squishes him like your like the giant in Trigun.
Yeah.
I was thinking of One Punch Man actually, episode 1,
Or
where he
that,
accidentally smashes
yeah.
his brother.
I
Yeah.
think that happens in Oh wait, that's what I'm thinking. Not Trigun, it is One Punch Man I'm thinking of. Yeah, that.
But yeah, so there it is. When the BBEG is controlling something that they actually shouldn't be, and you just bonk it with an arrow and make it turn around and eat them.
Yeah.
God, that is such a funny fucking thing where the BBEG has something they physically can't control and it was DM fiat, and the thing the players figure out its hit dice is well beyond this creature. The DM's waffling about how it can regain control. It's like, but it can't.
He has to beat my will save in order to regain control.
Or survive
We have
10
to
minutes.
behind the cut.
It's like basically the next objective for the PBG's mission pops overhead and it's just
Survive.
objective survive. And they're like, what is
Throw
that?
it out there. Oh no. I'm gonna throw it out there. If the person takes the liberal reading where the master doesn't have to be undead and it just works against like any undead that's being controlled, I can see this as being a very big enemy thing to use against Freya.
Possibly, yeah.
I mean,
Because she could dominate undead.
Yeah.
Look, if there is a situation where you've got a necromancer in the party and the DM knows this feat exists, then it becomes a serious a threat against players. It becomes less useful. You've got to know you're using it. Like any of these ultra-specific feats, like fucking rangers, you need to know you're going to be doing very specific things, and then it becomes good.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why I was saying it would be a great counter to Freya, because Freya is the player. The DM can always set up the scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Oh, for sure.
It's not so good of a like. This might be good in that campaign where you fight Tarbalthon, because lots of undead in that. But
Everything is a fucking undead, basically.
Yeah.
But you do find yourself in that weird position of a lot of the early undead that I can think of are probably not controlled undead. They are probably free-willed undead loyal to Tarbathon.
Why am I just picturing now the Aristil fucking cleric shooting their guided hand bow in order to shatter the control of some undead?
You know, I think they need a special attack name for it, obviously. And an anime as fuck scene to just play out during. Where they shout out their attack name.
A Dragon Ball Z scenario where you spend 20 minutes winding up an arrow like you've played Monster Hunter. You've got 1,000 dragons wound up.
Yep.
Exactly. Alright. Okay, let's move on from Shadow Control.
Yeah.
Cleansing Burst.
Cleansing Burst.
So, this is another undead hose, sort of. It has, like, two sides of this coin. The first side is Undead Hose. It activates when you channel to harm undead or turn undead, and it'll disable any disease effects attached to melee or range attacks that they possess. It'll last for 1d4 plus 1 rounds.
If the undead creature successfully saves, the duration is just a 1 round.
So even on a successful save, it still sticks partially.
Okay.
And the other side of it, if you're channeling positive to heal living creatures in the area, you get a +4 sacred bonus on saving throws against disease for 1d4 plus 1 rounds.
I actually think this is pretty good, depending. Because how many times have we gone up like that mummy who was also a monk and we're just like shit, mummy right, shit, fucked up, fucking fail, shit. Like, certain monsters will do a nasty disease on hit, and you will then panic. Because it exists.
This only cares, well, the hosing side only cares about undead. The other side does care about any disease, though.
Well, I'm talking about mummies and stuff.
Yeah. Being able to turn off a mummy's mummy rot pretty good because it takes the teeth out of most of a mummy right there.
Yep.
Their damage is actually... I mean, their damage can be decent, but probably not spectacular.
You know, at least it's got that sacred bonus against just generic diseasing.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of things that'll give you filth fever or... fucking ghouls. Then again, you're turning ghouls off as well.
You could turn ghouls off.
Yeah.
And ghouls are like... Ghouls are a creature with a CR inflated by the effects that they inflict, so their will save actually isn't amazing for being undead.
Yeah. Ghouls are absolutely shit, they're just a powerful debuff vector. They are literally there to whittle your resources down and not actually be a threat by themselves.
Like, if they inflict paralysis or ghoul fever, they're threatening in that regard, but they're otherwise pretty easy to handle, so... They got like 2 hit dice for like a CR3 creature or something. They're not particularly threatening for their CR. I think, so while I think this feat's okay, I don't think it's particularly good just because of, it feels narrow to me. Though, generic...
Yeah, it is pretty narrow.
It feels a little too narrow to me to be worth a feat slot, and most of these effects on a cleric you can remove later. Mummy Rot's a pretty good case because Mummy Rot requires like 2 things to remove that have to be successful, but otherwise.
Yeah.
Channel Force. It has its 3 flavors. The basic, improved, and greater. At the start of its chain, it's a single target effect that you can use. And basically it's like, within 30 feet, you can target somebody. If they fail their saving throw, you can pull them closer or push them away. Keeping in mind that this channel is still like positive and negative energy based, so your rules are still applicable for that channel. So a living creature, you'd have to hit them with negative energy, and a undead creature, you'd have to hit them with a positive energy. The improved channel force allows you to affect all the creatures within a 60-foot line or a 30-foot cone. So just for the sake of being able to change the shape of your channel, this is already a pretty cool effect. And being able to push and pull them is almost just a bonus. It's still a pretty good get-off-me tool.
It's definitely one of those feats that there's certain abilities where you just don't see very often. Like, being able to just yeet something away from you as a caster without risking being slapped in the face is very rare.
Yeah. There's no range attack and no casting here. It's just, if they're in your face, you can punt them away. Granted, they do have to fail a will save, but you can make your will save good and it'll be fine. Now, the greater channel force, which builds off of the improved, allows you to use this effect with all the creatures in that 30-foot radius burst. So you can use it with a regular channel now too, essentially. On a cleric, I see this as a comical way of just moving enemies around a battlefield, and probably helping keep them at bay, keeping them off of you. Though if you were to build this on a paladin or anti-paladin, this could be a funny way to like try and yank creatures off of allies and put them in front of you. Or just literally going with the scorpion get over here thing if they're being scumbags and trying to stand away from you.
I mean, especially if you like the anti-paladin I plan to make that's an entirely plague-focused one, and you really want them to be up in your face so you can just fuck with them. Yeah, this might show up if I can figure it out.
If you can fit this shit in.
Yeah. That is definitely an issue you encounter with martial divines, is that you tend to just be eaten alive by your feat requirements.
When you are struggling to make room for things like power attack, because there's so many other things you want to take.
Yep.
Giving credence to why they consider these more cleric feats than paladin feats.
That said, my specific issue is that I am trying to max a min. I'm making something that's bad good, so the investment is much higher than fucking what you'd want.
Yeah. But if we've got nothing more to say about this funny set of feats, we could talk about Foment the Blood.
This is new to me.
It's
an orc one, okay.
It's an orc feat, yes. It's an orc toy for orcs. If you are an orc with orc party members, this can be good. Your channel energy type does not matter for Foment the Blood. It increases weapon damage and crit confirmation rolls until your next turn. This bonus is equal to your channel dice number, so the more dice you have, the bigger the number you're adding to just the damage of all the orcs in your channel.
This
Non-orc
could be
creatures,
scary.
non-orc creatures in your channel have the normal effects, which will be either healing or damage. With the right setup and circumstance, this can be fun and useful. It does kind of require the circumstance, though, of, like, an orc party.
Oof.
This really does feel like a DM tool where you're like, oh, you need to go deal with a tribe of orcs. And then they all just go absolutely fucking nuts at you.
The orc chieftain channels negative, harms the party, and also causes the orcs in Radius to go fucking ham. Doesn't harm them, just you, and buffs them. And if they have ye old quick channel, well, move action they're channeling, standard action they're probably casting a spell.
Looks at amplified rage.
Or
Yes.
or somebody's walked up to them, and maybe they're making use of their own bonus, slapping them for a pile of dice. Well, not dice, but a pile of damage. Maybe dice if they also have ye old channel smite. Anyways, I think
Yeah, this is definitely a DM tool for making your players start to panic.
It's definitely a DM tool, but if you can get your party to sign off on all playing orcs, it can also be a funny player tool.
Oh, sure. What, if people playing orcs in this day and age? No, they're all playing some fucking ooh-woo pretty boy or something.
Okay, but hear me out. Your entire party will be ripped, and they'll all be able to crack walnuts with their ass cheeks.
It's a JoJo party. Got ya.
I was gonna say, why don't we just play the orcs from the new D&D edition, where they're all basically just people.
Oh,
Green
you
man.
mean
Pretty
the
much
new orc
Mexicans.
meta of femboys?
Yeah.
To be fair, I've seen some great AI images of Mexican orcs. They go real fucking hard. It's like, we're gonna try and be racist. It's like, no, this is just good.
You know,
You failed. You failed successfully.
alright, enough about racist orcs that go hard as hell. Is Shatter Resolve?
Racist
So,
orcs that go- What a statement. What a fucking statement.
Okay. Shatter Resolve.
Prerequisites.
It's associated with Urgathoa. I know it says generic, but it's actually associated with Urgathoa. It causes creatures that fail a saving throw of your channel to become shaken for rounds equal to your channel dice. Though I've not personally used this, because my Urgathoan cleric was in Iron Gods and was fighting a lot of robots, I think the feat's decent.
I think while Shatter is... The fuck am I talking about? While Shaken is a fairly weak status to have on you, a lot of things do key off it.
Yeah.
Deadly Stroke, Shatter Defenses. While it might not be exceptionally impressive for you specifically, there is probably a marshal in your team who is going to look at this and go, thanks, buddy, and then kill something.
And this isn't a once per day, it's every time you channel. So, and it's, even if it sticks, it's a -2 to attack rolls, saving throws, and skill checks. And you can take advantage of that. Aside from that, you're still doing damage to your channel. You're still being a fireball. You're a fireball that can shake things.
I mean, people pay an entire meta magic feat to get a maybe on that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think this is a good feat. And there's another feat here associated with Urgathoa. It's Bolster Undead. Bolster Undead gives undead healed by the channel a +1 channel resistance, or it'll boost their existing channel resistance by +1 for a number of rounds equal to Charisma mod. I don't think this is very good at all. As the resident Urgathoan cleric necromancer here, I think this feat's garbage.
Yeah, the DM here stands Urgathoa. She's as bad as a K-pop fan.
I'm gonna hug my Urgathoan body pillow back here, okay? Anyways, Bolster Undead I think
You're
bad.
Urgadaki.
The bonus, like, yes, it's a bonus, but you're paying a feat for this bonus. No, go next. Next would be the Majesty of the Yamaraj. So, this is a Duskwalker specific feat. It's also an undead hose. Oh, it's one of the races in the game.
What the fuck's a Duskwalker?
Don't worry, I didn't know what the hell it was either until I looked it up.
Oh yeah, Planar Adventures. There's a
Yeah.
couple of weird races in that.
Oh, I wonder if they're any good.
They look decent.
It's the
I think.
There's one race in there. It's the only race I ever saw that had a strength and intelligence bonus.
Clear your
That's
throat,
rare.
you're getting wobbly.
Sorry.
There you go. Strength intelligence. That's fucking wild.
Yeah, it's the only race I saw with that.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, Duskwalkers themselves are more generic with like a Dex and Wisdom, I think. Regardless,
Wisdom. Fizz, a good roll on Fizz Mental though on those combinations can be used very well.
I could be mistaken. My recollection of Duskwalker is very low because I kind of just gave it a fairly brief look over.
+2 Dex, +2 Wisdom, -2 Con.
Oh shoot, I was right.
You was right.
All right.
I didn't remember the
You get it
-2 con. I knew it had a minus somewhere. I honestly thought it was like a mental stat, though. I forgot it was con. Con hurts a little bit, but oh well. Regardless, what this feat does, when you channel positive to harm an undead, it lets you expend one of your racial abilities, this Ghost Hunter racial ability, as a free action, and it causes your channel to be basically empowered against undead, dealing 50% more damage. It also gives you an additional use of Ghost Hunter. So, I'm not a fan of the feat because it's just another undead hose. But undead are fairly ubiquitous. You'll find a usage for it. And having an additional use of your Ghost Hunter feat, of your Ghost Hunter ability, might warrant it being worth it. Though, Ghost Hunter, if I am not mistaken, is basically just a buff for anti undead effects, spells or whatnot. Anyways, let's talk about this Hellish Shackles. So, Hellish Shackles essentially requires you to worship like certain types of entities, and it makes your channel negative feature a 2-save process that will result in a dimensional anchor. This can be useful for preventing escapes of certain wily creatures or teleportation-based repositions, but most creatures will not really be impacted by this type of effect. And creatures that would be impacted negatively probably have an at least decent chance of saving. However, like, I suppose if they're a dimensional dervish thing, this could pin them to the earth, and... Let's say June, dimensional dervish slayer would probably be made pretty sad by this.
I went through the entire Silver Mount with the Divinity Drive in fucking projection mode, and I spent an entire book unable to fucking dervish.
So you know how that feels.
Yeah.
The 2-stage save process is basically, the first save is against the channel negative energy, determining how much damage or whatever effects applied to it. And if you fail that, you get a -4 for the second will save. So the first one primes the second one, making it harder for you to pass. You might still pass the second one. You might just fail one or not the other though, so... It's at least minutes per charisma modifier, so probably long enough. I don't know if this feat's particularly good. Mostly because most creatures don't care to teleport around. Either they're moving on foot, flying, or whatever. And most creatures aren't going to be trying to flee from the party. Strixie characters might.
If this was used versus a party, though, I imagine the twins would be really sad.
Yeah, it'd probably make the twins sad. Amaya might lose her access to her dimensional nonsense. Amala probably won't fail.
Amaya loses her dimensional nonsense and just has to rely on 15-foot step.
Yep. It has to move at incredible speeds while 5-foot stepping. Let's not open that can of worms though. That's another conversation entirely.
Yes.
So let's get
Well,
on to
how 10 and 15 foot steps are the most OP thing I've ever fucking seen.
15-foot step activates item to be able to attack up to 10 feet away. Oh, now I suddenly have 20-foot crowd control while I can still full round attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Crazy.
let's move on to contingent channeling. So contingent channeling, it builds off selective channel, but it also requires a very specific class feature that limits your class options if you want this feat to a specific archetype. The Merciful Healer Cleric. It will let you turn your channel into a buff that will proc when an ally hits negative hit points automatically or as an immediate action at the ally's behest. And it just heals hit points equal to your channel. I think this is a fine feat, and it damn well better be if it's only accessible by one specific archetype in the game.
I mean, yeah, it's why paladins were notoriously powerful in previous editions, because they had restrictions tied to them.
Yeah.
That was their thing. It's why in second edition you needed, what was the limitations? You very specifically needed like 18 charisma and 17 con and something strength. You needed ridiculously high stats to even qualify to be able to take the class, because they've got all these restrictions on it, but goddamn do they slap.
Let's not even get into that old bard requiring you to do many hoops. So, yeah, let's talk about Life Flare then. So this is another undead hoser, and it's kind of like a variant turn undead. This one fascinates though, which fascinate usually breaks when something perceives a hostile action, but in the case of unintelligent undead, they might not perceive aggression towards allies as harmful to themselves. So this variant may allow you to easily dispatch just unintelligent undead without them fleeing. I didn't really think Turn Undead was worth a feat, and I'm not sure this is worth a feat either.
No, it's undead hosing. And you know what else hoses undead? Channeling.
Slapping normal positive energy channels you are required to have.
Most things we've just spoken about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so here we have Selfish Channel. Selfish Channel allows the channeler to empower healing on themselves if they are the only creature affected by the channel. I think this is a DM tool, because I don't see this as being that great for a player. DM tool, this might be fine for a boss or something. This is where I take a moment to wait to see if anyone sees a use case that I'm not seeing or thinks that this is better than it should be.
My initial thought is stuff like, if you can get your channel stuff to work with Lay on Hands, a War Priest or a Paladin might be able to just heal nuke themselves for lesser investment to just have insane sustain.
Unfortunately, this calls out channel positive energy specifically. And I can't think of any way to make that work the other way around. I think the best case is if you were, say, a Dampier, and you weren't a Necromancer, but you had negative energy, so you could negative energy channel yourself to heal yourself. As long as there's no other undead in the area, you can consistently get yourself a channel off in that case.
I think if this specifically added the plus 50% this Empower bonus to variant channel static modifiers, there's a case used for using this for variant channel boons and making those either very powerful or last a lot longer. Just because it only applies to hit points makes me squint at it. Like, this could be so much better if it applied to the other stuff.
Like, if this works with reactive channeling, because that is a channel energy, sort of, technically, maybe, this might make reactive channeling better. Which, reactive channeling is already a good feat, so improving it further is for, like... But, like, even then, like, you're spending a feat slot to make another feat that's already good better, which might be worth, but there's so many other things you could be doing with that feat that might make you just generally better anyways.
Mm-hmm. Not true.
So let's slide down to Aura of Succumbing. So,
Is that just an AoE death knell?
You know, you're actually scarily close, to be honest. It requires you to worship one of the 4 horsemen.
Okay.
As a swift action, you can put up an aura. The aura lasts for rounds equal to your cleric level. It causes dying creatures to take 1 damage per channel dice each round at the start of your turn. A successful will save on the dying creature's behalf will have the damage. If that's all that this did, I'd call it hot garbage. But it also has this effect of, if a living creature dies in the area of your aura, you gain temporary hit points equal to that creature's hit dice. And that lasts for an hour. Since it can artificially increase your hit pool, it might save this feat. It probably saved this feat. I think it's still more of a DM feat than a player feat, though.
Yeah, it's just putting a timer on the party losing and makes them lose even harder.
Yeah, because like, it basically creates an aura of, if someone in the party is dying, they better get that person up, or that person is going to take a bunch of damage.
The other problem with this one being, if like even if you were to take it as a player, like, since this isn't channel, this is expending a use of a channel to create the aura. If one of your allies goes down, you might suck their soul.
Yeah, you absolutely will. Like, you don't exclude your allies from this effect. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, and oh, you know what? Your anti-paladin could fit this in probably.
I mean, it could, but I don't want to kill the party.
Exactly.
Like, okay, I may be an anti-paladin. There may be an opposing horseman who all demon lords are supposed. Actually, wait,
you worship a horseman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nerdy's worshiping a demon lord.
Okay. Right. Okay. So yeah. So demon lords.
You're worshiping a horseman. He's worshiping a demon lord.
They'll hate each other. Is my point. So sucking his soul out if he goes down would be absolutely encouraged to be like, "Ha, gotcha, bitch." But also, I would like this campaign to fucking succeed.
Yeah, because I was about to say, because if you ever hit 0 and went down, wouldn't him just eating you alive also be in character? Absolutely.
Yes, totally. Dude, if I go down and he's inhabiting me, I'll turn into a fucking zombie.
I absolutely ship those 2 characters, by the way. They're shipped.
Yeah. We have the most unholy sex life, involving him invading my orifices.
You didn't have to put it that way. Come on now. So,
He's a swarm, it's true, though.
True. Touch of evil. Touch of evil.
That's what they're doing.
That's not helping. Okay.
Touch of evil.
Touch of evil lets you use 3 uses of your channel. You can touch a creature, and you can do it secretly even with a sleight of hand check, if you're successful with your sleight of hand check, and they don't notice. And the touch implants a suggestion that has to be a harmful or destructive act against another creature or an object. The creature will take a few days to think it over, plan out the suggestion, and before they complete the task, they get an additional saving throw. I think this feats shenanigans.
It is absolutely shenanigans, but it's got a lot of it's got multiple failure points built into it.
Yes.
On the other hand, it hits them in the whiz and sanity because of their obsession over it, which is kind of funny.
And, yeah. I don't think it's a particularly good feat, or a good feat for a player, at least. There are probably places where this could be beneficial for a player to use, but those cases may be too niche to warrant a feat.
It'd have to be a social or political campaign. You could absolutely run it in that, but then you'd be focusing on you'd be a divine caster, you'd be evil, you'd be doing this, but you'd also be really bumping up your DCs on your enchantments and compulsions or this. You'd be finding ways to bump the DC up to make sure they stick. So you'd be wholly dedicated into being an evil fucking Jafar type asshole. Yeah. Just to be fair, it's a good character archetype. You could do that and do fairly well. Enchantress are notoriously powerful, as we've seen with Nefreya. So you have to build around it. You can't incidentally take it and be good, but it can be good.
I can agree with that statement.
Especially if you're picking a target and you're just dropping their wisdom down and they just turn into a burbling idiot.
Like, I mean, you don't have to tank a target's wisdom. Let's say you were just going to walk around and just tap a bunch of peasants on the ass and give them all the same task.
Start a riot.
Or
Revolution, rabble.
maybe suggest that they steal this object, this prized object from like this museum that you want, because you can probably get it from them much more easily than you can take it from the museum, and they will do almost all the work for you, or try. And even if they fail, it might be funny for you.
But here's the thing. Let's say, okay, so the reason you don't go smash and grab is because you don't want the eyes on you. If a rabble of peasants go smash and grab, and let's say you're the heroes of the town, you've got, say, you're at Asimar with the Mask of Innocence, or whatever the fuck that trait's called, and you just go in, and while there's absolute chaos and stuff's burning and shit's on fire, you just go take it off them. You go, mine. And you leave. If you actually can't get away, you go, I recovered it from the rabbling peasants. Thank me later. And then you can plan your own heist. Or you get away and they're to blame, because it's just vanished.
Or if you want to be real spooky, you could target guards instead, because your average guard probably won't have a great will save, but will have a lot more access.
True,
and authority.
You can target the law itself. You're right. I like this feat. I like shenanigans, and this is shenanigans. This is a good feat, I think. You just need to use it correctly. It's one of those things where your creativity fuels the power of it, you know? And your DM's willingness to let you be a shithead.
Yeah, you probably don't want to use it if your DM is a little bit serious or not into your shenanigans. You don't want to offend your DM if you can help it, generally.
Because if the DM is just sick of your shit, then give it a miss. If the DMs are equally as much as a gaggle fuck as you are, then this thing's got power.
Yeah, it very well could have significant power.
I like this.
All right. Let's slide on to the next feat.
All right.
So, channel Deific Essence.
The fuck is this?
Oh, are you familiar with the Invoke Deity spell?
Nope.
Okay, well, this is kind of like the Invoke Deity spell, with a much shorter duration, and a little bit more limitation. And you can activate it by consuming use of channel energy. Essentially, Invoke Deity, the spell, has a list of buffs. You can take one of these buffs based on the domains of your deity. It's a mixed bag as to whether the buffs are good or just decent. The benefit of the Invoke Deity spell is that it's like a 10-minute per level buff, though this doesn't have that massive duration. The benefit of this is... Yeah?
I'm looking at the buffs, and once again, air at the top tends to be just evergreen good, because it usually just gives you a fly speed, like every air effect. It's either more rage or a fly speed. Everything does the same.
This will last for a number of rounds equal to your channel energy dice, which is a far cry from the 10 minutes per level, but it'll probably last long enough for any given situation.
I mean, if you're a mid-level cleric, your channel dice is probably worth an entire fight.
I mean, yeah, you need to have at least
a few rounds.
You need to have at least 5d6 before you can start playing with this, anyways. So you'll be
this
like
is an entire fight buff.
And another thing worth mentioning, this feat has more versatility than the spell normally does, because the spell is normally personal. This feat could allow you to take a single target within 30 feet, use 2 uses of your channel energy instead of 1, and you can give them the buff.
Alright, I want to pause here. I'm looking at Invoke Deity, and it's based on domains, and I'm going to just look at the artifice. It's like, not all gods are made equal, but holy shit, you're immune to bleed, disease, poison. You get a +4 on saving throws against death effects, mind effects, and necromancy effects. Like, the artifice, invoking the artifice domain just gives you a pile of defensives.
Yes.
And you can use make whole and shit on yourself. You can use construct healing.
Yes.
If you desperately. So we're back to the divine boons conversation. It's like, not all gods are made equal. Some are good, some are garbage, and it applies to this. If your god has some good domains, this thing is going to be powerful. If your god's shit, it's shit.
And keeping in mind that there is a little bit more restriction on this feat as well, where you have to take a domain that you have selected rather than just what is available to your god.
Sure.
Which I think that actually gets balanced out nicely in this regard, because the Artifice domain, the domain itself, is not very good. But that power from Invoke Deity is.
The only thing that's good in the Artifice domain is when you hit 9th level spells and get True Creation as a domain spell. It's like one of the only sources of True Creation.
I think this feat has potential.
Yeah.
It does call for Alignment Channel as a tax feat.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you any specific rules regarding that Alignment Channel. So you can take whichever Alignment Channel you want, which is probably going to be one of the good ones. You know, Alignment Channel Evil, so you can use your channel no matter what to screw up evil creatures without screwing up your party.
What? You've built your character and you've taken good things, not bad things? Wow.
Who does
It's
that?
weird. It's a weird philosophy, isn't it?
You take
Yeah.
the good stuff.
It might be worth mentioning that whoever is being affected by the Invoked Deity has to kind of follow the tenets, or not offend the tenets of your deity while they have the buff or they lose the buff. I imagine for you
Use
as
the
a cleric,
rules.
you're not violating those rules. And you know
don't know,
what?
we've-
Those ground rules are probably really easy for most other players to follow for the few
A
rounds that
couple of
they've got the
minutes.
bluff.
Yeah. That being said, we've had some really shit clerics and paladins and people who just think that they're a suggestion and not rules.
Yeah.
We've encountered some people who don't seem to understand the concept of restrictions to their powerful class.
So, let's take a moment. Let's take a poll. Everybody agree Channel Day Essence good? I think it's good.
I think it's good in specific cases.
Okay.
It depends on what your deity is and what your choices are.
You know,
'Cause
that's
you
fair.
You could just scop at this entire feat and it'd be pointless because your
You could
choices
just have
are
bad domains for
ones.
the feed.
Yeah.
That's fair. Aura Flare. So, you know how you never use your aura for much of anything?
Isn't Aura Flare a Final Fantasy spell?
I don't know, but it sounds like it could be.
It's right.
Alright. But, so Aura Flare allows you to bring your aura to bear with your channel energy. And I think being once per day kind of hurts it, and it only really affects the opposing alignment, so evil if you channel positive or good if you channel negative. The effects that can be produced last for like 1d4 rounds. They call for fortitude saves. And the two effects we have here, you're either probably inflicting fatigue or stagger, depending on the strength of your aura. You can opt to use the lower effect if you want, which you might opt to if you're fighting barbarians. But in most cases, the stagger will be better. Having an effect that you can put against your enemies of opposing alignment despite the flavor of your channel does help the positive energy channelers a little against like non-undead and non-construct enemies. I'm not certain if the feat is good just because it's a once per day, and because of other like limitations imposed upon it.
I mean, well, that's the thing. It's like, this is good, but your ability to make use of it is limited to once a day.
Yeah.
You want more than that. Like, if it was 3 times a day, I think we could all agree that there is some you could probably silver bullet a rager or something and just like, you're fatigued. Shut up.
Or because stagger is a very powerful debuff. When you're able to inflict overwhelming a debuff,
Yep.
like staggering for 1d4 rounds, like on a low roll, doesn't feel amazing. But if you manage to hit like 2, 3, or that high roll of 4, staggering for multiple rounds means that they're not contributing to the fight very much at all.
Well,
And
it's
this
like
is
when
like-
Jack... It's when Jack was using his agonizing hex and he was just drifting around, just nauseating all of the enemies, and they couldn't do anything except just flutter around vomiting. It's like, no, you're not engaging in the fight. No. It's just that again. It's like, you can just be like, no, sit down.
Yeah.
It's a lot more powerful than inactive than it is an impressive effect.
Yeah. And like, it is kind of separate from your channel energy, so if you're channeling positive to harm undead, you could be hitting the living necromancer with the like aura effect, which will be a fortitude save that they might not be able to make very effectively because they might be a fucking nerd wizard.
True. Very true.
There's use cases where Aura Flare can be really good. I think it's better for a positive energy channeler than for a negative energy channeler for the obvious reason of you're probably not fighting a lot of good creatures unless you're in that very specific campaign.
It's like they exist.
Yeah.
Is there any evil campaigns? I mean, Skulls and Shackles probably puts you in conflict with good aligned and lawful things because it's basically just fucking One Piece.
I mean,
Hell's Vengeance.
yeah, Hell's Vengeance
True.
is literally an evil campaign that Python released.
Okay, fair. You play as the lawful evil / whatever Hell Knight is dealing with your last
You
party.
you play as Agents of Thrune to handle a paladin uprising trying to free Cheliax from devils and House Thrune and whatnot.
Okay.
So in that
Cool.
campaign, you can channel and disrupt good creatures because it's a pile of paladins and whatever and their allies. So
Paladins, Archons, and Angels.
let's slide down to ye old sacred summons.
Ooh.
So Sacred Summons calls for the Aura class feature, which is accessible to most Divine casters, but Cleric being the one that has access to the highest level spells, I think makes it the most beneficial for like the Cleric if they're just taking this.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is it allows your summoning spells to hit ground as a standard action instead of taking the entire round. So that's that bit kinda a big deal. Like they do have to share an alignment subtype that matches your auras. I.e., if you're a good aligned aura, you're dropping angels and shit.
Okay, true, but you can also get that feat that makes your summons aligned either fiendish or holy, and that forces that subtype on all summons you pull down, except opposing ones.
Well, like, that is something native to just, like, animals and such, non-specific creatures. Like, all of the animals automatically receive, like, the minor celestial or fiendish templates, like the simple versions of them, whenever they're summoned.
Okay. So at least it interacts with that and opens up.
Yeah.
Because if it's got the holy subtype or whatever celestial, it will be good aligned.
Yeah.
It's part of it. So.
And like.
This is less limited than you think it is.
And like
Just
spitting creatures out immediately and having them act immediately is a lot better than having to wait. Especially because it means your summon can't be disrupted by getting damaged, which is a normal problem to face.
Yeah.
Full round action casts are a bit painful because they kick in at your beginning of your next turn.
Also, I feel like Dez really wants me to mention it. Darkfire Adept is a prestige class that gets this as a free feat.
They get this as a free feat, and they automatically get the equivalent to an aura, but only evil.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
That's actually a realization I'm just having. If you were a good aligned cleric into a Darkfire Adept, like let's say you were a lawful good cleric, you devoted to a lawful good god. You now have a lawful aura, a good aura, and then you pick up Darkfire Adept, you now have an evil aura.
You can't be good for it, so you'd have to be like lawful neutral.
Okay. I mean, you could be lawful neutral and have a lawful good god though, and have a good aura from that.
Yeah.
So
aura shenanigans.
You
Something
could
I
aura
never thought I'd be
shenanigans.
thinking about.
You could aura shenanigans into having a good lawful or chaotic and evil aura.
How to confuse a Hell Knight?
Someone detects your alignment. What am I looking at? What is happening here?
I detected evil and you're evil, but I'm detecting good and they're good. What?
This paladin detects you becomes staggered for 3 rounds trying to comprehend what the fuck you're looking at.
Detect confusion.
You're alive.
Oh man,
confused.
That is hilarious.
Maybe instead of trying to make this a build for the next campaign, I should keep this and try those shenanigans.
Oh man, that's definitely a shenanigans right there. All right.
Evil caster.
So let's slide down to Blackfire Summoning. So Blackfire Summoning builds off the Sacred Summons feat, and what it does is when you summon a single evil outsider, it basically just has a damaging effect that's on its summon that's equivalent to like double its CR. It'll only affect like non-evil creatures, which severely limits its like usability. It will also boost the spell slot by one unless you have a specific class feature. You know, it's the one that unironically belongs to the Darkfire Adept. So it's like almost tailor-made for that, weirdly enough. Otherwise, I think it's an okay feat, but it's probably not something you'll benefit from with a normal party. Again, like, this is one of those, you're probably not wanting to use it to fight evil, but you could get away with fighting like, say, Chaotic Neutral Fae or something from, like, Kingmaker, or Hell's Vengeance, using it to blow up paladins.
The fact that it can be used against neutral means it could be useful, but honestly, it's at its most useful if you're going into the class that goes with it, the Darkfire Adept.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because then it's not basically being a metamagic feat.
Yes.
In any case, sliding to the next feat, Spontaneous Nature's Ally. It's let's say your cleric really had aspirations to cosplay as a druid. They had their animal domain for their animal companion, their plant domain for whatever reason, and this will allow them to like use their spontaneous casting to cast Summon Nature's Ally spell, which is decent. It does add some more flexibility to what they can cast. They don't have to repair summons. They can just spontaneously summon Nature's Ally if they need to summon. It might be good.
That is pretty nice.
It does require you to invest in either animal or plant, and you do have to have that ability to spontaneously cure or inflict. Like I said, you can cosplay a druid.
Taking that animal domain, having your animal companion spontaneously summoning animals. Person looking at you like, druid, eh? Nah, cleric. Then pulls out the guided hand bow.
A Veristil.
Yes.
Alright. So, Domain Strike. It wants a domain class feature and improved unarmed strike. And, what it does is you can choose one of your domain powers, and, as a swift action, after you have struck something, you can apply that domain power to them. It's like the rare ability that happens after you've already succeeded, so I think that gives it a bit of a use case that makes it more helpful. But unless you're scaling that unarmed strike damage somehow from somewhere, I don't feel like it's that great. It's arguably better than just touching an enemy with a domain power if you were wanting to inflict them with something. But you don't need a feat to do that, you don't have to meet standard AC to do that.
Yeah.
Sliding down another feat, we have Crusader's Flurry here, which asks you to be part monk, part cleric. And you may have noticed a few of these feats calling for improved unarmed strike. I almost feel like at some point Paizo kind of wanted this idea of this part monk, part cleric of like Irori or something. Maybe they're low-key suggesting it, but what this Crusader's Flurry does is it lets you flurry of blows with your deity's favorite weapon, which depending on your weapon could be hysterical. Like
I mean, all this makes me think of is one level dip just to get this.
I mean, imagine flurrying with your greatsword because you're devoted to Gorum, or probably not Gorum, because then you aren't hitting the proper alignment, but you get what I mean.
You absolutely can. Martial artist monk.
True, actually. True. That's fair. Flurry of blows with a greatsword away. Or, you know, worship one of the, like, Agathians, hit up the Imperial Lord that lets you use the Bastard Sword. Flurry with your Bastard Sword.
You know? We're kind of boiling back down to this point where it's like, these are divine things, it's like, they're good. Except in this case, it's like, man, gods have got such insane control of what's good, and not just by your fucking level 0 choice.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, you could have if you could use the deity based on their weapon. If you chose, say, Pharasma, your weapon's a dagger. If you chose what's his face, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. You get the Bastard Sword. A little bit of discrepancy here.
Chooses Serenray just to give the monk the 18 to 20 critical.
On that scimitar, that
scimitar.
might be. You know, that might be. I could see that, yeah. I mean, hey, keen that shit, now you're swinging that 15 to 20. That could be hilarious.
Yes.
Hilarious! And, I mean, you can fix it because now it's being treated as, like, a monk weapon. You might be able to aesthetic style it or something.
It's true, actually. I mean, even if you couldn't, you've got the weapon modifications to give it the monk quality. You can do some bullshit with that.
Yeah.
Weapon modding is bullshit. You can't even make basic weapons with it.
True.
So,
what a garbage, poorly thought out system.
Ironbound Master. So, Ironbound
cute.
Master gives Gorham worshippers the Armor Training class feature from Fighter, with an effective fighter level of -4. If it also made you count as a fighter, you could use it to qualify for advanced armor training. Still, this could be a pretty solid feat choice for a cleric who didn't want to put up with ACP and wanted like medium or even heavy armor at a point.
Yeah, true, actually.
And not to mention, it'll also boost their the bonus that they can get from dexterity. So if they had that, like, say, 16 or so dexterity and they got full plate, after some levels, they could benefit from their dexterity entirely.
I'm sure there's something to be done here with a heavily armored Dervish of Dawn Serenray.
You gotta be a Gorham worshipper for this.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Which of Gorham? Okay. I
mean,
guess.
Gorham still gives greatsword.
True.
And he is basically the god of battle, and you missed out on some of his specific feats, but one of the feats that he offered was you could use your channel to give allied melee weapons in the vicinity the vicious quality. You know, more damage. You take a little bit of damage back, but more damage. Now, we also have Blessed Hammer here, which is here mostly because it allows a Torag worshipper to treat the hammer in their hand as their holy symbol. Which will matter for clerics, war priests, and paladins. Namely.
Well, it means you've got a hand free to not be holding your holy symbol.
Yeah. It also lets you pretend to be a magus and deliver a touch spell with your hammer bonk. And for a Torag worshipper, I just think this is good. And because clerics have that higher level spells, you might be able to get a really high level touch spell from like the upper tiers to just bonk somebody with.
I mean, let's be fair. Even just slapping someone with like a inflict serious or inflict critical wounds.
Yeah, so there's worse things that you can be doing with your time.
Or bonk them with harm.
Yeah, you could bonk somebody with harm. That's a very good point.
That's a very aggressively destructive thing you could do, yeah. Just drop the hit points down to fucking 1. It's like, and you're basically dead. What now?
And then follow-up swing, because if you're high enough level to cast harm, you have another swing.
Yeah.
True. Harm, then just pop them, then just kill them. It's like, well, get one rounded, dipshit.
And this also goes with that the blessed equipment stuff too, because Torag, you're probably in all of the things to get all that blessed equipment and shit.
I mean,
oh, no.
If you're worshipping Torag, you are probably the magic item crafter, because Torag is basically the god of crafting.
Oh no. The god of hammer.
Is this one of those where you worship both Torag and Gorham at the same time and you're some weird fucking creation destruction fanatic?
You can't have them all as gloves.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like, well, shit, there's some things to go here. I don't know, I'm starting to be... Because I bashed the skirmishy frontline cleric that's also a bit casty because of the mad requirements, but it's turning out that there's a lot of support for it, and I'll be revising my opinion.
Let's not also forget that Torag has a divine fighting style feat that I'm not mentioning today because divine fighting style deserves its own video.
Okay.
And I believe it's a hammer-based one.
It is a hammer-based one. Torag has a weird amount of support for his clerics, by the way. Some of those
He's one of
feats
the
he's
main
offering are
gods.
really good. Torag good, by the way. In case you didn't know. Oh, and let's not forget, you might not have the greatest strength, but you could Guided Hand.
I mean, being able to switch you to hit to wisdom, anything that's not your strength, it just fixes so many problems. It reduces
Like-
the mad issue. You just need enough strength to be carrying your bullshit.
Bonk with, so, switch to bonking with, wisdom, because your wisdom might outweigh your strength, or cast Mighty Strength and give yourself a +8 enhancement bonus to strength, and then beat somebody with it.
Beat someone to death with your faith,
Yep,
just as God intended.
yep,
Literally.
yep. Alright, I think we talked Blessed Hammer up enough. Let's move down to
Okay.
Potent Holy Symbol. Potent Holy Symbol. This might be an effect that you were asking about, like, in a previous session. So, Potent Holy Symbol allows for you to count as presenting your Holy Symbol, etc. for keeping vampires at bay when you use your Holy Symbol as a divine focus for casting or channeling. It is a very specific feat. It is very specific for when this feat is good.
If you're playing something that's equivalent to Curse of Strahd, it's fucking invaluable. Because I know in that campaign, you just get swarmed by vampire swarm constantly.
Pick this with Blessed Hammer, and that way you always have your holy symbol in your hand.
True.
Yeah, so I say there is absolutely something you could do in a very vampire-y, Strahd-y, Barovia-y horror campaign, where you existing is just making the BBEG vampire both sweat and shit himself inside out with pure rage.
The place where this feat belongs is in a feat where Vampire Hunter is a good class.
Way to
Otherwise,
detract from it.
You'd probably want to skip it.
Yeah,
I mean-
when this feat is good is when you would take both a ranger and a vampire hunter.
Which is a weird place to be.
And if you're picking this feat, that means you're still the most effective out of those three people.
Yeah. Definitely. Easily. No questions. Alright. Let's slide to War Blessing. War Blessing, it requires Mystery or Domain, so Oracles have access to this too. And, what it does is, you basically get to choose two, minor blessings that will match the domains from your deity. And twice per day you can call upon, like, one or the other, or both of these minor blessings. And, like, I think how good this feat is dependent strongly on your deity. It could be a solid feat. There are some pretty good blessings out there.
Yeah. Yeah, not bad.
If you want to check your domains, check your War Priest blessing equivalents, and really think about it. It could be worth the feat. Alright, let's talk about this next feat. It's called Guardian of Tradition. It is a feat for Girtablilu.
That's a word.
Okay, so this is not a feat for most players. I'm only going to say most because there probably is a weird case where your DM lets you play the CR8 creature. Because a Girtablilu is a giant scorpion lady. Or presumably man. And it's a CR8 creature. And, yeah. So its actual effect allows a domain from a deity to be replaced by specific druid domains. By the way, those are a thing. And, it'll boost the caster level for those spells from those domains by +1. If you're somehow able to qualify for this, it's a good feat. Most
So
because you're normally not
effectively-
going to have access to those.
I think, strictly speaking, what you need to do, you need to either be adopted by one or have some racial connection to this race species.
I know, right? I mean, it's basically a scorpion centaur. A
Mhm.
scorpion tar. I think they're kind of cool, conceptually.
They are fucking cool. It's like, who doesn't like The Rock as the Scorpion King in terrible CGI?
Exactly! Ah. Alright. So this
Who
is
doesn't
probably...
like The Mummy Returns?
Yeah, so this is probably not usable by most characters. But if you can, it might be worth dipping into, because, like, there are 2 Vermin domains, one of them is objectively better than the other. I don't remember the Desert or Ruins domains do off the top of my head, but I know one of the Vermin domains, great. And a +1 bonus to cast level of spells. Not bad. Alright, so the last feat that I want to talk about today is Theurgy. So, strictly speaking, this is probably barely a cleric feat, but its second effect does call for the creature to have the channel energy class feature to gain a benefit. The benefit that a cleric can provide to this feat is half the damage of the affected spell, which will be an arcane spell by the way, becomes holy or unholy damage, therefore not subject to, energy resistances. And to obtain that effect, you basically got a swift action, burn a spell of the same level or higher that's divine.
Holy crap. It's a feat that should have just been one of the fucking class features of the Mystic Theurge.
Yeah?
Yeah, it fucking should.
The other side is that, like, a divine spell can have their caster level increased when you burn an arcane spell.
Yeah, this should have just been the default thing that a Theurge could do.
Yeah.
Theurgy! It's weird that it's not on a Theurge, isn't it?
You know, that they don't get it as a bonus spell, or at all.
Yeah, I
They
know.
don't get shit.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is their entire thing. No, you're not allowed it. You've got to spend a feat, despite being set back and only good late game, because Theurges are notoriously fucking painful to level up. Spend a feat,
Yeah.
dickhead.
Yeah,
And-
like,
Man, the Theurge in 3.5 is just like one of those. It's one of those golden gooses of a high level play, but getting there is awful. No one wants to do it.
yeah, like if you're making a high level character, awesome, fucking go for it.
Yeah.
But if you're starting level 1 and your goal is to become one of those, get ready for some painful mid levels. The second you stop leveling your main class and go into a second class.
Yeah. You know what's a much better class than the Mystic Theurge in my opinion? The third-party Theurge. It does what the Theurge wants to do, but within its own class.
Yeah, but like that's third party. Like
It
third
is.
party can usually improve upon terrible
Yeah.
design. The problem with Theurge is it's got the same placeholder stuff as other things from 3.5. It carried over exactly as it was, and unfortunately Pathfinder is a much better system where just staying in one class can benefit you so much more than it used to.
Yeah, so you're not wrong.
And when you do cross class, you're trying to get the most bang for your buck. So like neutering your spell casting so that you can level up a completely second spell casting class, so that you can go into one that's going to level you kind of slowly in both of them. It's like, ugh.
So, if I were to fix Mystic Theurge as a prestige class, because I think it could use fixing, they'd probably gain Theurgy as just a bonus feat when you take your first level, and they would get their capstone much earlier, and their progression would include getting additional uses of the capstone.
Yeah, my thought to make them better is let them have their dual cast at like level 2, and then have it go up at like level 4, level 6, level 8, level 10. Like,
So
and
basically
by
we're on
the
the
end
same
you get
page there.
5 shots of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're basically on the same page there.
And Theurgy level 1, either you get it as a free bonus feat or it's just the fucking ability of the class.
I mean, I kind of like the idea of it being a feat. That way other classes could potentially take it if they, for some reason, wanted to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that into their build.
Yeah. Yeah.
For some goddamn reason, without being a Theurge. So, that was the last feat I want to talk about today. What kind of closing thoughts do you think we have?
I think that the cleric is the cleric and channelers in general have a lot more fucking support than I thought they did, and a lot of these things you overlook as it's a healing thing, it can do a bit of debuffing. Turns out it can be the entire focus of a character.
3
Yeah.
videos deep, yes.
And we're not done yet.
Oh yeah, no, we haven't even covered the magic items and the traits, because there are quite a few that support channeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I
You
feel
can't
like
be exasperated. You missed half of cleric.
True. And I think I want to go ahead and just reiterate the reason that I'm putting all this under clerical support rather than paladin, war priest, and whatnot, or shaman and oracle is shaman and oracle do have to spec into a class feature in order to obtain channeling, and paladin and war priest are already like dead set within their own classes to be martially inclined and have to spend feats on martial things. They might not or will not make room for this support, and that's why I'm considering it cleric content.
Makes sense.
So is that all we have to talk about today then?
I hope so. We've been here for ages.
I'd say so.
Alright.
I think we're good.
Well, if you guys like what we do, consider leaving a like, maybe subscribe, possibly leave a comment, and goodbye.
Ciao.
Later.